On today's episode of Among the Clouds, we're talking to Elliot Frazier from the band Ringo Deathstarr. Known for such albums as Color Trip and Pure Mood, their last self titled album came out in 2020. Elliot talks about discovering shoegaze, forming Ringo Deathstarr, and how he records and produces the band's music. Stay tuned. Hey, Elliot. Thanks for joining me on the second episode, even though I don't know if it'll be the second episode, but it's literally the second episode of my Among the Clouds show. Um, what's going on?
Well, just sweating it out here in Austin, Texas. I'm in this backyard studio out here. Um, yeah, it's really humid. Um,
I know the feeling. I'm in a swamp right now. Um, so everybody knows you from Ringo Deathstarr. Um, this is kind of like a shoegaze dream pop adjacent thing. Um, when I got into this music in '91, it was all shoegaze. So from here on out, I'm just going to literally say shoegaze, but just know that it means a bunch of stuff. Tell me a little bit about your history, when you discovered it, how you discovered it. Were you blown away by it, or were you like, "What the hell is this?" Um, you know what I mean? Like, what
yeah.
was your first reaction to it?
Well, I guess my first exposure to it would have been Starflyer 59 and Morella's Forest because I grew up in Beaumont, Texas, and there wasn't any way to know about this stuff. But I was involved in a church, like a youth group and stuff, and my friend had a subscription to Seven Ball magazine, and Morella's Forest was on the cover, and it came with a CD sampler which had Starflyer 59 song Hazelwood. And for some reason, I just loved that song. And I even, I guess Amazon.com was around. You could order CDs for like used
Right.
CDs for really cheap. So I ordered all that stuff. I got the Morella's Forest rare songs from Napster. So yeah, I just put it all in there. And then through that, I found Lassie Foundation and this band called the Autumns. And then I heard My Bloody Valentine for the first time when I was 19. I had read about them from reading Starflyer interviews. I
Mhm.
never looked them up on Napster for some reason. Then I was at a party and this guy put on their CD. He had it. He was a little older than me. Uh, yeah, he put it on, and you know, I wasn't like immediately blown away, but he let me borrow it, and then I just kept listening to it over and over again. That, and then so I saw Lost in Translation, and through the whole film, it's cool. We got My Bloody Valentines, whatever. At the end, when the scene came on, and Just Like Honey, I never heard that song before, and when that song came on, it changed my life immediately. I was like, I want to do this.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's great. I mean, it's got to start somewhere. You got to get that initial spark, you know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I listen to Spark, well, it's not Sparkler. It's going to be well, yeah, Sparkler. It's the compilation, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely to me. It's like half My Bloody Valentine, half Jesus and Mary Chain
Yeah.
kind of combined, right? And I've talked to you about it before, but I love that about it. So I can kind of hear that you were listening to those two things at that time.
Yeah, I mean, also at that time that, I didn't get around to starting Ringo Deathstarr till 2005, but, like, I had written 2 songs, after I saw that movie, and, the band I was in at the time, they didn't wanna play those songs. Um, I didn't know of any other bands that were still playing like that. I thought there's no way can see any of this stuff. I missed out. You know, there were no other bands like that playing currently that I knew of, because I'm in my own bubble thinking like this. In order to experience that music, I have to start a band and play it myself. And
Right.
so that's what I did, and it took many years to get anyone to like to be serious about it, and that's when I met Alex in 2007. So after about 2 years of just rotating people that were just like, they were cool, but then they were, drug addicts, so you have to kick them out,
Right. Oh,
So
but yeah, I've been there, but
yeah,
mostly in the metal world.
yeah,
Um,
it's the same everywhere.
right. Um, so Alex joined first or Daniel joined first?
Alex joined first, but I had known Daniel since high school. He just he moved here at the right time, and when we needed a drummer.
Well, I mean, you guys have stuck with it this long. So obviously you guys found the chemistry that works. And was there ever thought of adding a second guitarist, or has it always been this is us three, let's not even mess this up?
Well, no, we've had a second guitarist a few or two times in the band. The first time was when Sparkler was recorded. The second time was, yeah, shortly after Alex joined, and he actually played on the other songs on Sparkler, and he was around when we recorded Color Trip, but then he quit in that period between recording and the release, and he moved to New York.
Well, I'm sure he's not thrilled right now.
We After he left, we decided we can't replace him, at this point, because it's like I consider when Alex joined the band, and therefore like when he joined the band, and Daniel, that's like when the band really started. It just felt like we gotta he's gone, we're just gonna remain the three of
I'll
us.
say I've never seen you guys live, um, but I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos, and I've the levitation performance. And when I listen to the recordings, you would think you need at least two guitars to be doing to make it full live. But I think you guys do a great job, and never miss. It never sounds like something's missing. Whatever you're doing, it does work in the live setting. So that's a compliment in some way. But
Thanks. Yeah, I think like we, in those old days, I would have felt like we had to have multiple different layers of parts. But I guess now when we write songs, ever since God's Dream, maybe, yeah, because like our Mauve record, it was too ambitious, and so I wrote like every song in a different tuning with like 20, like 10 guitars that I had to have, and so we don't really play a lot of those Mauve songs anymore because we tried, and it just was we don't have a guitar tech,
right, it's
and
too much. So when you were starting Ringo, the internet was around and everything, but you couldn't just go online and figure out what your these bands were doing as far as how they were getting their sounds. Now we know Kevin Shields, reverse reverb, the whammy, all that stuff. Slow Dive supposedly was using the FX 500. But I'm just saying from my experience in the early 90s when I was trying to do this, we had no idea. You know what I mean? We just had some Boss and DoD pedals, and we were just like, I have no clue how they're doing it. But in your experience figuring that stuff out, how did you go about it? None of us are trying to rip off these bands per se, but you definitely figured out the whammy thing and the reverse reverb and stuff. So how did that all come into play?
when I read about My Bloody Valentine doing that, it just was like, whoa, that's cool. I'm gonna do that. Obviously, I'm gonna do that because My Bloody Valentine. I can't just go see My Bloody Valentine right now, so I'm gonna just figure out how to do that too because it's really cool. Why not? And then actually, this guy that was the guy that recorded Sparkler, Frenchie Smith, he was a big help in understanding all that stuff because he was actually in a band called 16 Deluxe in the mid '90s, who toured with Medicine and Jesus and Mary Chain, and he was the effects guy in the band. So he would tell me all about all these crazy effects and stuff. And
Now, were you using the alternate tunings at that time?
yeah, yeah, that all just came from sonicyouth.com. So I already had the tunings for Ringo Deathstarr. Like I said before, I wrote two songs, Some Kind of
Mhm.
Sad and Summertime, when I was in my previous band, and they didn't they weren't into those songs. After I quit that band, I've sold my drum set and just went full time guitar. And never that way, no one could ever tell me like, "No, we can't play that, man."
Now, were you playing guitar already?
I picked up drums and guitar at the same time when I was 13. It's just like it was weird. I thought I was going to be a drummer and all this stuff. I had tried so hard to be a drummer. It's just weird that I have much more success as a guitar player than a drummer because I am way better at drums than guitar.
So, as somebody who's released, you know, 4 albums, compilation, what, 3 EPs, a live album, you've released enough stuff through the years. Are you comfortable where you are musically? Are you striving to try to do something different on each release, or is it just it is what it is? I was just curious if there's ever a conscious decision, or is it just I'm writing songs and this is what it is at when it comes out.
Um, I feel there is a conscious decision. It's more of a decision to ensure that we write songs that we're able to play live. We thought we were doing that with God's Dream, but it's like those songs aren't really. Most of them aren't really coming across live. So it's like, and then like with Pure Mood, that was sort of a similar attitude. Pure Mood went back to using drum sample. Like with Mauve, there was like it was completely natural drums.
Right. It's more of a drier album, I'd say.
Yeah, that was like complete rejection of Color Trip right there. It's like we're gonna just record it. We're gonna play the songs, and it's gonna be like real drums instead of all these crazy samples. Um,
Mhm.
and then Pure Mood was just back to like a mixture of both. So we did it, and then this new record was back to let's play let's play everything live again. Let's make it natural sounding. No samples on the drums or anything. Some songs on the new record might sound like it's a sample, but it's not. Like I just really manipulated the snare with the MIDI verbs. I probably had like two or three MIDI verbs going on the snare drum and just super compressed or whatever, just to make it really sounding
Right.
initially too, because we were using tape this was like that was a conscious thing too. We're going to record this album on tape and all the
Yeah.
stuff that goes with that because we hadn't done that since Sparkler. That was done on tape, but I was tired of looking at the computer, honestly.
Before Pro Tools, all my recordings in the 90s and even the first Whimsical album, that was all on ADATs. And
Yeah,
so even though it wasn't tape, I couldn't edit anything. Like it was recorded, what was, is
yeah.
what was played. So yeah, I can't go back to that. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I did, I did edit stuff in the computer, especially vocals. Singing to in that format is something that once you get comfortable singing, where you could just do take after take, like really quickly and punching in like precisely, and or just like doing a million takes and then comping them together, as
right.
everyone does now in the digital world. It was really it was really difficult to think about like really singing and not singing in a way that you don't have to do that. That takes
Right.
like that takes a whole other mindset and practicing.
For me, the first two Whimsical albums, they were recorded like the songs were written, that's what was recorded. The drums were recorded first, guitars, bass, guitar overdubs, vocals, sound effects, whatever. But nowadays, I'm not recording like that. I'm using Pro Tools as like an instrument. You know what I mean? I'm now I don't even finish the song. I'll write a verse and a chorus, and I'll start recording it now. And I have my whole setup here where I can start recording a song, and 6 months later I can come back to it and finish it and get the exact same sound. And I'm literally cutting and pasting and moving. And so when you hear the verse 3 times, well, that was played once, and I edited it perfectly on the grid, and I chopped it up, and because I'm so anal, knowing that I can do it, I have to do it.
As far as when songwriting occurs, yeah, that has been done a lot. Lots of snippets of things laying around. But yeah, when we make the album, then we just record the song again, for better or for
Okay.
worse. You know, but there are some regrets I have about that. Like some of the songs, the demo versions had they would have been like a drum machine or something, and that was thrown out in favor of like we have to get like a real drum track, and then like it might have felt good at the time. Should have just been in there, and have the drums play to that, at least
Right.
stuff like
I'm
that.
I'm a firm believer that there's a magic that happens on the first time a song's recorded, and that when you try to record it again, 90% of the time, at least with me, you're trying to recreate something that happened on that first one that you just can't get again. It could be a
Yeah,
mistake, it could be just something, but there's a magic to that. And so going back to what I was saying, like now I'm writing the song in Pro Tools, and that is what you're gonna hear when it's released. Like there is no demo. That is the recording.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was thinking of trying a method like what you're doing this go around with our new, when we're going to try and do these new songs. It probably won't be like Pro Tools based, but so it's like let's just record the guitar track to either my computer or to the tape, and then we'll just go in and do the drums, and then just build it from there, and then
Mhm.
just constantly building on the same master. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it has crossed my mind. I mean, yeah,
When I'm writing my songs, like I had mentioned previously for a second, I write like 90% of it on an acoustic, and then when I record that, it's basically like just overdrive or whatever, and maybe some if I'm using the loomer pedal or something for like some weird bend that I can't do with a plugin, I record that in the Pro Tools, and then all the modulation effects and everything are just plugins because I like to in the mix be able to change everything. But there's also about I'd say 10% of my songs are me writing. I found some cool effect that I wouldn't have been and made something that's, you know, cool to me, but I could never play that just on an acoustic. It would just be boring, or you would never come up with that on an acoustic, if that makes sense, because it's based around what that effect's doing. How are you doing it? Is it something where you're just jamming, writing a song, and the song is the song, or is it I found this cool effect and this becomes the song based around that effect?
yeah. I mean, all those things. Like, it's hard to know when a song will happen for me. But yeah, sometimes it's just an effect. I got the Eventide H9, and I could be around with that, and then find something like the song I wrote when we were in Japan was based. I just put on this effect called undulator, and I just started playing the chord, and there it was. Sometimes it's a fuzz sound. I have the super fuzz pedal, which when you have the bunch of strings tuned to the same note and you're playing up around the 12th fret, it has a octave up in that fuzz, which
Mhm.
becomes really prominent the higher up on the neck. It could and bend the tremolo. It'll just make oh, I can make a song around this. I'm gonna like find more chords like this. And
Right.
a lot of songs are written uh, by Alex, who has an acoustic guitar or maybe like a just an unplugged electric guitar. I don't know. Pretty clean guitar and vocal, and then I'll take that and just kind of start. It's almost like I'm producing someone else's song.
Mhm.
I guess it is like that, but I'll take that and just kind of start fucking with it and learn what she played, and then see if I can make it more in line with how I play, or like what happens if you put this effect on it. I'll get an idea of what kind of effect might work. And the same
Mhm.
with Daniel. Like he'll write a song. Like he wrote that song "Cotton Candy Clouds," and but it was all clean. I think he had some reverb, and it's like let's just make it sound more like an old like calliope or like an old church kind of hymn, like an old organ
Right.
or something, and then just have like the chorus be super heavy. I like the juxtaposition of dreamy and heavy, but not in the way that a band like Nothing does. I like it more of like Cocteau Twins versus and then like all of a sudden it's like White Zombie or something like that. So that's why I do write bass lines a lot of the times. So if I know in my mind, I'll have like I want my guitar to be really effecty and really just some kind of weird noise or something. Then I'll write the bass part first, and then the guitar is just like an afterthought.
Kinda going around with the established base already.
Yeah, yeah. So it just all is there's so many different ways that it comes about. Um,
When she's comes to you with a song, is it a finished song or is just a vocal melody over some chord progression and she's like, "You need to finish this," and then have you ever changed it into something that she's like, "Yeah, that's not at all what I was going with," you know what I mean?
um, her songs are pretty much finished. I'd say they're probably like 90 or 85 to 90% finished as far as like melody and chord structure when she brings them in. She's pretty good at having like a fully realized like song idea, because like yeah she's writing a song in a completely different manner than the way I'm writing a song. I don't know. There's no one way for us to write a song. That's what it all boils down to.
So basically, the answer is no, Neil. That's not how we do it. But it's great that she's bringing these ideas, and you have told me in the past that even Daniel will bring in something. So I mean, it's great, and it's not like when I listen to. I mean, it might sound to you because you know who wrote the songs, but I don't listen to you guys and go, "Well, this is completely abstract and weird," compared to, it all still falls under the umbrella of what you guys do. So, I mean, that's great. As far as new gear goes, are you kind of sticking with what you have, what you know? I mean, obviously we've talked about some older gear. You've
Yeah.
upgraded. I know you used to years ago you used to have actual pedals and stuff and now it's all rack mount stuff for the most part. But are you keeping up with any of the boutique pedals that have come out in the last 5 years that are like literally made for shoegaze?
Yeah, I think for me, just for what I do, the whole like it's all based on MIDI now. Like I need pedals that can be controlled remotely. I don't really use distortion pedals anymore because my amp can give me every distortion tone that I need. So I have one fuzz pedal. I would be interested in having a stereo rig so that I could have like a completely different pedal board to have like layers of textures and stuff. Sure, it'd be fun to just have a good amp and like a couple of pedals or mini pedals that you could with between songs, but I, I'm just that's not my job in the band at this point. You know, Having to think about singing, it's like it takes so much brain power and it's terrifying. Like it's really
Right.
scary thing.
Because you're also hitting a button and it's already preset that's changing 3 or 4 things. It's not like you're just turning on a distortion and now I'm doing a delay. You'd have to have 4 feet to jump on those things.
Yeah, I'm changing two MIDI verbs. People ask me, "What do you use the two MIDI verbs for?" As if there's only one available sound on those things. Like I've got one in the effects loop of my amp, and then I got one is like a pedal like right before the amp. um, and depending on what I want, they sound different where from position to position. But I might have like a chorus on the first one going into a reverb on the other one, since there's only one effect available per unit. You know what I mean? So if I want to use like two effects, it's it's really interesting how clear the guitar sounds if you have an amp that can do the job without the pedals. And that's where I'm at now. It's just like I don't my overdrive, people think it's a fuzz. The people think it's a big muff because the tone on my guitar, I use the rhythm circuit on the Jazzmaster or the Jaguar, and I have sometimes I have the tone rolled all the way off.
Are you using all your guitars? Are they all still single coils, or have you put humbuckers in them?
Yeah, they're single coil. I got a humbucker one time, and I routed it out, or my dad did it because he has all the tools. But I just never got around to really installing it, and then I was like, whatever, I'm gonna sell it. I think my rationale for not installing that humbucker was that like now I'm gonna have this one guitar with a humbucker, and like I can't use it for any other. You know what I mean? It's gonna limit my use of this guitar because like then it's gonna change the sound of all these songs like drastically, and I just don't want to deal with all that. So
Are there any songs that you've written and for whatever reason they were rejected? The other guys and gals didn't like it, or you were like, you know what, this isn't working or whatever. And then, say a year, 2 years later, you stumble upon it and rework it into something, and now it's something great. And it could have never been that song if you finished it the first time.
I don't know if it was because my bandmates rejected it per se, but we all kind of just know if a song is
Working or
working or
not.
not. But yeah, there's like a little lick that I had been using in trying to find a song, trying to make it work since the
Mhm.
Mauve days, and it finally ended up being the chorus of the song "In Your Arms." We could never figure out how to make the song become something. The first song I wrote that was ever played on the radio was in my hometown of Beaumont, and it had been rejected by two bands that I had been in. Yeah, they rejected "Summertime" and "Some Kind of Sad" from that band. Well, it's like some kind of sad is the song that like got Ringo Deathstarr. I mean, I guess started it all. On MySpace, like we had the song, and this guy from England like contacted us on MySpace, said, "I want to put your record out." The rest is history. I mean, he put it out, and we started getting fans from all over the world. I don't know how. It was just crazy. The internet. What are you gonna do?
But I feel like MySpace did more to generate buzz with bands than Facebook could ever do.
Oh yeah, yeah. Why doesn't someone just bring it back? That's how we got to go to Japan. I mean, it was crazy. The day that we got asked to go to Japan was like insane.
So, if you were in a situation where you had to show somebody a shoegaze song, dream pop song that's your favorite, or desert island song, what would you pick? And then also your favorite song that you've done and why?
Well, I think the first answer, it might be just a bit cliche and cheesy, but I don't care. Sometimes by My Bloody Valentine is probably my favorite song ever. I mean, I don't know why. It just has that sound. It just evokes a feeling, and every time I listen to it, it's the same. I don't know. It never. It just has, I guess, all the things that to me make this kind of music great. It's got distorted, weird guitar chords. It's got the vocals that a melody that's almost sort of Beatle-esque or a little Beach Boys-ish too. And
Mhm.
you can't really tell what he's saying. And, that's what's cool about it because like it's not really obscured by a bunch of effects either. It's just like however many layers of vocals that he just piled on top of each other. as the song builds at the end, it just keeps adding these chords with the voice samples. And I like how the song just repeats the same riff the entire time, and it's just got that pounding drum machine thing going. If only I had that song when I was 17 years old. I just like that song. I don't know. It's just kind of like one of those songs. Just like I'll never be able to make something like this. And it's so simple, but it's so complex at the same time.
And then if you had to pick something of yourself.
I think for that it would have to be the song "In Your Arms" on our new record right now. I really like that song, and it's fun to play. It's challenging to play. It's really just kind of like what is going on with the guitar. Um, and I really like the vocals, and the guitar solo is fun to play. The only regret is that there's not two Alexes in the band uh, to sing the harmonies perfectly live. I mean, I sing some of them live, but the I'm getting better at it. But trying to imitate Alex. But um, yeah, I don't know. I just like that. I like the whole thing that we did with that song.
Well, thanks. Been talking for 2 hours.
Well, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Thanks for taking time and BSing with me. And anything you want to plug or talk about? I know you said you got the demo thing.
Yeah, it's just we decided to just go ahead and let all the old skeletons out of the closet,
Mm,
because we used to be afraid of people putting it up on YouTube or something, and just people, if the first impression of our band is someone hearing this demo where we're singing like garbage. So now we don't care. We feel like we've reached that point where it doesn't matter. Like
right.
we're we want to peel back the curtain so people could see what we did, where a song might have started from, some of the unreleased, unfinished song ideas that are in there, um, and just kind of we left the working titles up. People can kind of put two and two together if they want to.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, we're beginning to work on new songs again, so we'll just be doing that for the rest of the summer.
All right. Well, thanks. And I will talk to you soon.
All right,
All
thank
right.
you. All right, have a good night. Get some sleep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
All right,
Elliot.
bye bye.
Bye. So that's another episode down. I'd like to thank Elliot for speaking to me. If you're interested in checking out any of Ringo Deathstar's music, I've posted links down below. Thanks for watching.